Breaking. Princess Leonor and King Felipe share heartwarming royal moment. Spain crown. The palace. Quiet. Predictable. A place where emotions rarely spill into public view. But tonight, something happened that no one expected. A moment so raw, so intimate, it stopped Spain in its tracks. And here's the twist: it wasn't planned, staged, or rehearsed. Because when the future Queen of Spain stepped toward her father, everything changed. And the reason behind it? It's not what anyone imagined. Princess Leonor and King Felipe have shared countless public appearances, ceremonies, military events, national celebrations. But what unfolded today carried a different weight, a different energy, a different emotional truth. It was a moment that reminded the world that behind the crown, behind the protocol, behind the expectations, stands a father and his daughter. Two people bound not only by duty but by something far deeper. What triggered it? That's where this story begins. It started early this morning, long before the cameras switched on. Leonor had just completed an intense phase of her military training. Months of discipline, pressure, and responsibility had shaped her into a more mature, grounded future monarch. Today marked her return to Madrid for a ceremony honoring Spain's future leadership. A symbolic moment. A national moment. But for Leonor, this wasn't just another event, this was a test. A transition. A threshold. Everyone expected the usual formality. The salute. The speech. The poised smile. But something was different the moment she stepped out of the car. Her posture carried new confidence, but her eyes held something more emotional, something searching. And the first person she looked for was her father. King Felipe stood waiting on the steps of the palace. Stoic, controlled, serving Spain as he always has. Yet the instant he saw her, his expression softened in a way so subtle, so fleeting, that only those paying close attention noticed it. The cameras caught it, but the emotion behind it ran deeper than anyone could see. For months, Felipe had watched his eldest daughter grow into the role he has prepared for her since childhood. The weight of the crown. The expectations of a nation. The unspoken fear of losing pieces of her childhood bit by bit. Today, all of it collided. Leonor approached him firmly, offering the expected military salute. Felipe returned it. A perfect display of protocol. But then, in a move that surprised even palace observers, Leonor broke form. She stepped closer, not as a cadet, not as a future queen, but as a daughter. What happened next stunned everyone. She reached out, gently placing a hand on her father's arm. A tiny gesture, a human gesture, but enough to disrupt the carefully controlled world of royalty. Felipe froze for a second, a fraction of a second. Then his expression broke, just enough to reveal emotion behind the kingly mask. Not sadness, not pride alone, something more complex, something layered, something tender. Slowly, he placed his hand over hers. It was brief, it was quiet, it was real, and Spain felt it. But here's the question: why now? Why this moment? Why this break in royal form? To understand it, we need to go back. Back to a time before Leonor's military training. Before the ceremonies, before the shared responsibilities of monarch and heir. For years, Felipe carried the burden of raising a daughter under a spotlight he never asked for. Every move Leonor made, every appearance, every gesture, was observed, dissected, analyzed. Yet behind palace walls, their relationship was said to be remarkably warm. Felipe was not just her king, he was her teacher, her protector, her guide. Leonor often admired the way he carried himself with calm, patience, and dignity, even under pressure. She once said privately to a close friend that her greatest fear was not living up to him. Not to the title, not to the throne, to him. Felipe, on the other hand, carried his own unspoken fear, the fear that the responsibilities of monarchy would distance him from the daughter he loves. The fear that duty would swallow their personal bond. The fear that one day, she would become queen before she had lived enough life as simply Leonor. Today, those fears and hopes intertwined. During her training, Leonor had experienced moments that tested her strength. Physical exhaustion, mental barriers, silent nights where she questioned if she was truly ready for the destiny shaped for her since birth. She missed home. She missed her father's reassurance. Not as a king, but as a parent. And so when she returned today, she carried all of that emotion with her. When she saw him standing there, proud, steady, and quietly emotional, something inside her shifted. She wasn't returning as a child. She wasn't returning as a cadet. She was returning as a future queen, who still needed her father. That tiny gesture, her hand touching his arm, was the culmination of years of unspoken feelings. A daughter saying, without words, I did it. I grew. I'm ready. But I still need you. Philippe's response, the simple act of placing his hand over hers, was a father saying back, I see you. I'm proud. And I'm here. From that moment, everything that followed carried new meaning. As they walked together toward the ceremonial hall, the air shifted. Their steps fell into rhythm. Their conversation was quiet but warm. Felipe, usually formal in public, leaned in slightly toward Leonor as they spoke, a sign of closeness not often displayed. Observers noted that Leonor's expression softened whenever she looked at him, a rare blend of admiration and relief, as if she had been holding her breath for months and could finally exhale. The ceremony began. Speeches were given, honors distributed, cameras flashed. But even through the official rituals, the emotional connection between them lingered like an invisible thread. And the audience noticed. Social media exploded with reactions. Did you see that moment? Felipe looked emotional. Leonor seemed so grown but so tender. This is the royal moment Spain needed. People felt the humanity behind the formality, the warmth behind the crown. But there was something even deeper, something almost no one saw. Minutes before the ceremony ended, Leonor stood to deliver a short, heartfelt message. She spoke about service, dedication, and the meaning of representing Spain. Her voice was steady, mature, but tinged with emotion. And then she said a line that captured the room. I stand here today because of those who led before me, and those who guide me still. She turned her head, just slightly, toward her father. Felipe's eyes softened again. It was the closest thing to a public acknowledgement of their private bond they have ever shared. But the most emotional part of the day came after the ceremony, away from cameras. As the hall emptied and officials departed, Felipe and Leonor took a moment together on a balcony overlooking the palace courtyard. A quiet space. A private pause. Witnesses from inside said they spoke softly, smiling. Leonor nodded several times, as if taking in advice or reassurance. Felipe placed a hand on her shoulder, a gesture no cameras captured but one that those present said radiated warmth. They stayed there longer than expected. Just talking. Just being father and daughter. When they finally walked back inside, Leonor looked lighter. Happier. More grounded. As if the moment had healed something inside her. As if something unspoken had finally been said aloud. And that brings us to the heart of the story. Why did this moment matter so much? Because it marked the transition between two chapters of their lives. For Leonor, it was the moment she stepped confidently into her future. For Felipe, it was the moment he realized she was ready, truly ready, for the path ahead. Yet beneath that pride lay a hint of sadness. The bittersweetness of watching a child grow into someone the world now belongs to. The tenderness of letting go just enough to watch them rise. This moment was not just emotional, it was historic. A reminder that the monarchy, despite its grandeur, is ultimately built on relationships. On love. On family. On the ties that hold people together through change. But here's the final twist, the curiosity loop that leaves Spain wondering, could this emotional exchange signal a deeper shift inside the royal household? Some speculate that Felipe is preparing to gradually pass more responsibilities to Leonor sooner than expected. Others believe the emotional moment hints at private discussions between father and daughter about Spain's future. And some whisper that this was the first sign of a new era, one where Leonor and Felipe share leadership in a more visible, collaborative way. No one knows for sure. But everyone agrees on one thing. Spain witnessed something extraordinary today. Not a spectacle, not a scandal, not a staged performance. A moment of love, a moment of connection, a moment that made the royal family feel beautifully, powerfully human. And the world cannot stop talking about it. Because if this is the kind of Queen Leonor is becoming, warm, grounded, confident, compassionate, then Spain's future is not only in capable hands, but in a heart that understands both duty and emotion. And if this is the kind of father Felipe continues to be, supportive, present, quietly strong, then the transition ahead will not be a loss, but a legacy. Today, Princess Leonor and King Felipe didn't just share a royal moment. They shared a human moment. An unforgettable moment. One that Spain will remember for years to come. And as their story continues, one question remains. What comes next for the king, the future queen, and the bond that holds them together? Only time will reveal the next chapter. But one thing is certain. After today, Spain is watching closer than ever.